Have you ever heard someone say, "You're going to eat those words"? Isn't it kind of a strange thing to say? It just really has nothing to do with eating anything. It's about regret, and that's about it. And you assume it right away. Somebody says something, you're going to eat those words. You know what it means when you get somebody to eat those. Force somebody to eat the words. They're not participating in a new diet trend. It means they're taking back what they said earlier, usually because they were proven wrong or the predictions didn't pan out.
Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. I love my little cat. I'm very fond of that. I'd rather have a big bow wow 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 wow.
Hello and welcome to the Mochiverse. I'm Linette.
And I'm Skip.
And wow, that's a big one. That's a good one. Eating your words.
Yep.
Yeah, it has so many connotations, I think, because you first think of it on the surface and you're like, what the hell are you even talking about eating words?
Yeah.
But it it makes sense as a metaphor because like if you want to take something back, how do you get rid of something? You just shove it in your face and swallow it,
Well, that's
make it
yeah.
go away that way. There's only a few
Yeah.
ways of making something go away, and one of them is eating it.
Yeah, exactly. But can you imagine that you're absolutely convinced that your favorite football team is going to triumph, only to see them lose very badly?
Yeah,
Yep, it's time to dine on some delicious decorations. that's,
exactly.
that's one type of eating your words.
Exactly. Well, and also like it's probably related to, eating humble pie and eating
Hmm.
crow and things like that. And of course, like it always reminds me too of the if this thing happens, I'll eat my hat or I'll eat my shoe.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's an awful lot of sayings based around eating things.
It really is, and it's like it was originally and published in John Ray's English Proverbs in 1670.
Hmm.
And the way it's used today has a negative connotation. However, there's a phrase that appears in the Bible. It means to feast on the word of the Lord, to take it in. When the Lord said to me, "Human being, eat what you find, eat this scroll, then go and speak to the people of Israel."
Oh, interesting.
Mhm. So
So, okay. So, all right. Well, there haven't been too many. It's surprisingly haven't been too many of these idioms that had a biblical connotation.
You're absolutely right. It really are. It haven't been, and it's interesting because there's also a proverb: "A man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth;
Huh.
from the
Wow.
produce of his lips shall be filled, and death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit."
Very
It's a
interesting.
proverb, isn't it? Just like you said, there's not too many of these idioms that have a religious connotation or tied into the Bible.
The Bible, yeah. Well, I mean, Christianity and specifically Catholicism does have a lot of connections to consuming things in order to absorb them into your soul and body. So you can only be part of something when you eat it. You're eating the body of Christ, drinking
Yep.
his blood, all of that stuff. A lot of those like sacrifices in the Bible were animals. They were like food. I assume they would eat them afterwards, or at least it was part of the ritual.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I had that didn't really realize that that was such an old saying.
Yeah. It was. What I try to do is I look at these idioms and then I do some research on them, and then I said, you know what? I mean, we say this a lot. And I started looking at it and said, geez, there's there's different connotations and there's different things that it originates from. I always like to look at the origin of something more than anything else,
Right.
uh, you know, because it helps you to understand where it came from and how it developed.
It's very interesting. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
What do you think, folks? Let us know.
Yes, yeah, that's a starting off with idioms is kind of interesting because I always look at uh, idioms as such of a embedded in our culture.
Hmm.
Uh, I found that over the years, I remember working with this Cambodian guy, and one of the things he used to hit me with, he says, "You have so much slang, I don't really know what it means." So I would take the time to explain each bit of slang that we would say, so we give a better understanding of what it is. And that's really slang is another way, it's an idiom, basically. So that's I've always been kind of fascinated with being able to look into those stuff and see when you start seeing the origins of these idioms, you go, wow, I didn't realize that was, like you said, didn't realize it was that old, didn't realize it had religious connotations. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I didn't even realize, I mean, I didn't realize it was, even as old as like the 1500s and the
Mm-hmm.
1600s and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, Sir Walter Raleigh was known to say it, which is
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, that's really interesting. I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You brought another good one.
Yeah. Anyways, I have a few little
Yeah.
things, and I'm not sure if I brought this on. Did you know that King Charles had a car that was fueled by wine? Seems like a waste, yeah, but in in search of a more efficient fuel, at the time Charles was a Prince of England. He took a strange but entertaining approach. He had his Aston Martin reworked to use wine as its primary fuel. You
Wow.
know, and I don't think he hit the real good vintage in it. Maybe he did a port or something like that.
That's too much sugar.
Yeah, something. But
Well, yeah, I mean, he has historically been an environmental
mhm, yep.
advocate, so that does make sense. He was mostly, I thought he was mostly concerned with like, farm conservation and things like that. But maybe he had that environmental interest at heart. He's a pretty weird dude though, so I wouldn't put it past him to. And the other cool thing about him though that is interesting is that he is interested in innovative things. So
Yep.
he does like new stuff.
Mm,
And he always did seem fascinated with like technology and things that are unusual and new concepts and new solutions for things. So, yeah, I could kind of see him adopting a strange thing like that.
yeah, and to me, at least the way I think, is that that's boomer mentality. And
Mm.
let's face facts. He's a boomer. So
Yeah.
so it strange being from a king, being now he's a king, but he was a prince, to be
Yeah.
so in touch with that common man. I guess a better way to put it from my standpoint.
Yeah, although that is part of the duties of the Prince of Wales and like the dukes and things like that is
Hmm.
there's this concept called noblesse oblige, which is mostly it could be argued that it's mostly done out of saving face, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of aristocrats, a lot of rich people, and a lot of royals do the things they do in order to look good doing the things they do. But there
Right.
are quite a few who believe very strongly that it is your obligation as someone of the upper class to give back to the lower class.
Right.
And that's actually ancient. Uh,
Yeah.
there's been a concept of noblesse oblige going back to like serfdom times.
Hmm.
And as backwards as that sounds, all of the things that they used to do in their mind were done on purpose to serve the lower classes, basically to thank them for their service, but also to ensure that service continues in the future,
That's
so
true.
that they
Yeah.
could keep, yeah, so
That
that they could keep things going the way they wanted them to go. Throw
yeah.
them a bone every once in a while,
Throw
kind
a
of
bone
thing.
every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like everything from like, bank holidays to,
Mm.
anything, festivals that they would have, like feasts and festivals
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
days when you don't have to pay taxes. All of that stuff was supposed to make you feel like you had this benevolent ruler. It was really just to keep you happy a little bit longer so that you didn't rebel. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, um,
that's
but the royals and a lot of royals in different countries and especially like in England, they 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 actually feel that they are part of a bigger thing too. Like this
hmm
part I never understood when I was a kid, but the king and queen, whoever is, whether it's a king at the time or a queen at the time, they actually feel that they're charged by God to be in that position. Especially the ruler of England believes they have a direct line to God. And that's why when they have their coronation, it's a religious ceremony.
right.
And
Okay.
that's also why, for many reasons, there were some problems. Like Henry VIII's problem
Yep.
wasn't just about like, oh, I'll change the religion of the country because I want to get divorced. It was like you're supposed to be like the next thing down from God. You can't just
Yeah.
mess with which religion we have in this country. It wasn't just about like it wasn't a tiny thing because
Right.
it was, you know, it was just it was an interesting thing to learn as I got older was that they
Right.
kind of thought they were, you know, like the Pope or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, and that's part of the noblesse oblige thing. It's like,
Okay.
yeah,
So, did you know the FDA once banned sliced bread?
bandit. Oh,
Yep.
interesting. Why?
Yep. The first machine sliced uh, bread was sold in 1928.
Mm-hmm.
Americans were still getting used to it. And when in 1943, the FDA banned it, the government cited a desire to keep the consumer cost of flour down and the fact that pre sliced bread used too much wax paper packaging.
Oh,
They could be used for the war effort.
oh, so it was
How,
a,
however, the
yeah.
people were furious and the ban only lasted about 3 months. But it was interesting when I saw that. You ban sliced bread.
Yeah. Imagine if we tried to like, you try to ban something that's a convenience now, and how would it last 3 months before they reversed it?
Ban, yeah,
Yeah.
ban pizza. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna ban pizza. Okay. I'll just make my own pizza. No, don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
You
that
know
is
the
interesting.
keyboard thing we've had. I always had the mindset on the keyboard thing, and I think I've said it to you myself, where I believe the keyboard. The reason it ended up being what it is because in the mechanical typewriters they used to jam with certain letters.
Yes. Yeah, the QWERTY keyboard. Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
that it
and
wouldn't jam. Yep.
yeah, and but there was one story, but this guy, Christopher Scholes, he designed it to slow the typists. You know, that's according to them, to place the most commonly used letters far apart.
Hmm.
But that could be a myth because the letters E and R commonly appear together and sit right next to each other on the keyboard.
Right.
So they would jam all the time if you think about it.
Yeah.
Another theory is that it was based on telegraph protocol to make it easier for operators to transcribe Morse code.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I always learned the thing about the keys jamming because it when you're typing a word,
mhm,
you have to use both hands because things are on the opposite side,
right.
and you kind of
Mhm.
alternate between one hand and the other. And so yeah, I guess I bought into that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I did too. And I can remember typing on a manual typewriter, and that happening. So it sort of embeds in your mind that that's why it is. But obviously, I think no matter what the origin of it is, the keyboard is what it is as the standard keyboard, and that's what you see nowadays everywhere.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that the counter argument back with the keys jamming was that if you change it, it would mess everybody up. In other words, if you made the keyboard be that the first top line goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, et cetera, so forth.
Oh, it'd take forever to find everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
It will
anyway.
just think about how if you go on like Netflix or whatever,
Mhm.
and you're trying to search for a specific movie that you want to watch,
Oh, yeah.
and you have to go through that screen keyboard,
Oh,
do one letter at a
I
time.
would poke your eyes out with a pencil. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people would do. Well, remember when they brought out those weird keyboards for a while that were like split in half?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah.
And they were like, these are so much better for you. And I'm like, I
Don't
can't
think
even look at that.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I see, and I don't know the reasoning for it, and I'm sure it makes sense. When you see people have two different screens
Oh,
and
yeah.
they move stuff between the screens,
Yeah.
I think that's more my theory on that, my thinking on that, and probably I'm not sure if I'm right about that or not, but is that it's like having, if you have multiple screens open, when you have two big screens, you can have multiple screens open and you can jump between one or the other.
Yeah.
So if I ever used one, I'd probably know why it works. So
Yeah. I use split screen. It's not two screens, but it's a split screen
mhm.
when I'm doing some research because otherwise I would use my phone for one and the computer for the other.
Right,
So what I'll
right,
do, you could split on Google Chrome
right.
into two panels
Mhm.
so that you can read a thing and type a thing, make notes on it at the same time without having to close windows and things like that.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of nice, but
I use split screen also. So it just, I think the two different screens allows you to do it with a larger screen, and it
yeah.
doesn't put a challenge on you to keep the lettering larger,
Hmm.
right? Because when you split screen, sometimes your lettering is small, or your document gets squished.
Yeah,
You
you're
know, yeah,
scrolling a lot more and things like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah. Plus, if you have two screens, you feel like you're on Star Trek or something. So
Yeah, that's a go. You say
that's it.
computer. That's
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And I won't say that because that's the keyword for my Alexa.
yeah.
I
Okay,
use
yeah.
that instead of
That's like us. Yeah, it's like us saying Alexa. All of a sudden she says, "I don't understand what you're talking about," because I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it's really fun when I watch Star Trek because my call word for my Alexa is computer.
right,
And when somebody on Star Trek will say they're asking the computer something and then they say a
yeah,
bunch of like techno jargon.
yeah,
Alexa has no idea how to process that. And she's like, I'm not sure
yeah,
I understood what you asked me. Can you like ask that again? I'm like,
yeah,
no, Geordie LaForge cannot ask that again.
yeah. Well, AI takes hold. That they will be able to answer that at some point.
That's true.
Yeah.
AI has already taken hold at my workplace, but yeah.
You know, really off the beaten path there, that
Hmm.
Viagra can keep your plants erect.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Just drop 1 milligram of Viagra into the water in a vase, holding freshly cut flowers. They stay upright and unwilted for a week longer than they normally would, according to a study in the 1999 published by the journal BMJ.
Huh.
Okay, so there's someone that actually did a study, which is mind blowing. Yeah.
Well, sildenafil is a blood pressure medicine, and plants might use a circulatory system that's similar to ours.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only reason I can think of that
Yeah.
that
Me
works,
too.
except for the punchline of a joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, listen, it's another example of someone taking the time and probably getting paid a lot of money to
Yeah.
do research on something like this. So,
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they might get paid a little bit of money, but they do have to. That's really hard work getting those grants, by the way. You have to really. Most scientists that you ask, they say that's the worst part of their job is asking for grant
well,
money.
the fact, industry that I worked on in my past was that a lot of universities that had astronomers they would have grants year to year, and they would need to use up all their grant money at the end of the year, or else it would go away.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they would order equipment before the end of the year, even though there was no way we could deliver it till after the next year, and they order it and pay for it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They want to pay
so
for it on
that's
this year's budget.
yeah, because two things happen. Not only do they lose that grant money, but then when the grant is reviewed the next year, if the amount that they didn't use is deducted from the next grant.
Right.
Not deducted, reduced. Anyway, okay. I got one more for right now.
Okay.
Did you know that lobster was once considered a garbage food and it could
Yes.
only be fed to prisoners?
Yes. It was the
Did
poor
you know
people's
that?
food. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Even going back to colonial times, lobster was poor people food. Anything out of the sea, like lobsters and clams and mussels and all that stuff, it's foraging stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was even to the point that there were laws restricting how many days in a row that they could have it, lest the punishment was too harsh. Wow. And I listen, I have friends, we have friends that any kind of special event, they go all for lobster. Okay.
Yeah, I've never understood the appeal of lobster, and I've been called a bad New Englander because of it. But yeah, that would be punishment. If I had to go to prison and eat lobster every day, I think I'd be very unhappy about that situation.
Well, you know my lobster stories because my dad used to,
Oh
he had a
yeah.
friend, we got lobsters, and he would bring them home, and he was, pretty jokester about things. Like two instances, one instance would it say, "Hey, Skip, there's a bag out in the outside the door. Could you get it?" And I'd go get it, and the friggin' bag was moving. And the other one was did to my brother Paul was that he'd tell Paul, "Listen, you little bastard, it's time for you to do the dishes." He'd go to do the dishes, and then in the sink was lobsters.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
I would
that's
never sleep in that household. I'm sorry.
you couldn't. It kept you on your toes. I can tell you that. So
Yeah. Oh my God. I got a few fairly small things.
okay.
I did my old fashioned way. I
Mhm.
brought out my single facts and did a little bit of basic research on each one. So, my first one, these are from my QI book of facts, which I then expounded on. The first one was that until the 1870s, all camembert was made by a single family. And so before I researched this, I thought, oh, is this one of those things where like champagne has to come from Champagne and that kind of thing? It was a little simpler than that. It just was a person who lived on a farm named Marie Harrell, and she just invented this cheese. And she lived in a very small, it was a commune at the time called Camembert
Yeah.
in France, and became a village later. And they just kept the recipe in the family. And it was supposedly later presented to Napoleon III and named Camembert after the commune that they lived in, which is now a village.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Never really thought about it. There were some sources that said that some sources that debated the origin and said it was like according to legend, but
Mhm.
I didn't see much in the way of their argument against it. Like it, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is controversial. Let's see the other side." Nothing. Just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, supposedly it was this, but we don't know." Like, well then why
Mhm.
would you assume it wasn't? I don't know. That's pretty
Yeah.
silly. But so Camembert is just from a single
Hmm.
family and up until the 1870s. Now, I thought about some other businesses, which nowadays it's very unusual for a company that's still around to have been in the same family all this time, right?
Right.
But
Hmm.
there are a few left, and some of these are examples of the family has a controlling stake in the business, which I don't know if that counts exactly, but I included them anyway. Like for instance, Walmart. Walmart was started in 1962,
Hmm.
and the Walton family still owns a 45% stake in the company. So I guess technically you could say that the Walton family still owns Walmart. But
But yeah, 45%. Yeah. Okay.
well, that's a
Yeah.
controlling stake, so that's considered you still own it, which to
Hmm.
me it only kind of sort of counts.
Hmm.
Um and Ford is like the same kind of deal. The Ford
Oh, for
family,
family.
yep,
Yeah.
Ford started in 1903. The Ford family owns 40% of the company.
Okay.
But the other two that I picked, Mars, which is the candy company,
Hmm.
still 100% owned by the Mars family,
Really?
which
Huh.
is really cool. Yeah, I like that. And also Aldi, which is also the same family that owns Trader Joe's, is
Hmm.
still 100% owned by the Albrecht family. Now, there's different members of the family that control different parts of it. Like there
Right.
was that whole sort of brother argument thing that split Aldi and Trader Joe's, kind of like Market Basket and Demoulas, if you're from New England.
Yep.
But the Albrecht family still 100% owns the company that has Aldi and Trader Joe's. So I think that's pretty cool. I want to see
Yeah.
that kind of stuff continue. Can't
Hmm.
exactly call that a small business, but at least it's a family business. It's still around.
Yeah.
My next thing, it was just something that caught my eye. Did you know that 75% of all the sesame seeds grown in Mexico are used on McDonald's buns? I was like, whoa. Okay, just in Mexico though. So you're not talking about the world sesame seeds because
Yeah.
the world sesame seeds probably the majority is like Mediterranean cuisine, Middle Eastern country because when you make hummus, you make it with tahini, which is made from sesame. But like
Hmm.
that made me think, and I knew this as a fact earlier. I remember reading about like how McDonald's is the biggest customer for a lot of different
Yeah.
agricultural stuff.
Right.
Like they're the biggest beef customer.
Hmm.
They're the biggest potato customer and the biggest coffee, which is
Oh, that's
surprising.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but supposedly, now this is just what I saw briefly online. Supposedly they're working on some sustainability strategies to offset some of that ridiculousness, but I'm not sure. I mean, a company says things sometimes, oh, we're 100% committed to sustainability, and it's like you could just say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do certain things. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that in company jargon, I always looked at what I call specsmanship,
Hmm.
where you word things a certain way to make it sound better than it is. So,
Oh yeah. Oh,
right.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like the wording that they use in order to oh, agriculture is just a mess. I mean, the wording that they use in order to be called like organic and things like that. It's not exactly what the consumer thinks it is and what you're buying into, but that's a whole other you could get on every side of that debate and still never get to the bottom of things, but
Right. Mhm.
yeah, I thought it was an interesting little fact. My next one never occurred to me that this person had children. But this is about Rasputin's daughter, Maria.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he had a lot of kids, but yeah, Rasputin's daughter Maria, she grew up the original fact says she grew up to become a lion tamer.
Hmm.
She actually grew up to be pretty interesting. She grew up and joined a circus and became a dancer
Hmm.
uh, and a circus performer. And she did spend a season with the circus lion taming. And that's where that fact comes from. She also wrote 3 memoirs, and she was a riveter in the U.S. during World War II because she moved to the United States and retired, I think, in 1955 and lived the rest of her life in the United States, so, which is very interesting that Rasputin's Rasputin's daughter. And of course, that was another thing that was like disputed, but I'm not going to dispute her because,
Yeah.
yeah, but I thought that was pretty good.
This is card game, which I used to play when I worked at the phone company. It's whist. You've heard of whist, right?
I've heard of whist. Yeah.
Yeah. It's bridge was derived from the 18th century English card game whist,
Mm,
and it is played by an estimated 220 million people worldwide. I never played bridge, but I've seen enough of it to say that's just like whist. Whist is kind of a quick game, a quicker
yeah.
game in my mind, anyways. Uh, yeah. So anyway, I used to like to play whist.
Well, and I
Um,
had it. I had the name of that game in mind
mhm,
from a piece of media because when I was a kid, I can't remember how, probably junior high age, I was obsessed with this made for TV miniseries Around the World in 80 Days. And it was the one that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. And
mhm.
they played whist. And I was like, oh, how British. Oh, a British thing to do Britishy stuff with.
I never realized it was that it was a British game,
Yeah.
so that's kind of
I imagine a
interesting.
lot of card games have British origins, or at least became popular during the 1800s and the late
Hmm.
1700s, because
Yeah.
that was a thing. Playing cards was a very big thing for the aristocrats in
Hmm.
those times. Um, there's a lot
Yeah.
of, and I know this from Jane Austen books. They do an awful lot of card playing in all of Jane
Right.
Austen's sort of thing. That whole upper echelon of society,
Hmm.
aristocratic people with estates in the country, playing a lot
Yeah.
of cards. So
Yeah. The trapeze was invented by Julius Leotard in
ah
1859.
ah,
Yeah, yeah. He also designed the tight, stretchy garment known as
as
the
a leotard.
leotard. Right.
Yes.
Uh, you think about this was about daylight saving time. It was first proposed by Benjamin Franklin in 1784 as a way to
Mm.
save candles by making better use of daylight.
Oh,
Yep.
well,
And
thanks, Benjamin Franklin. We hate
yeah,
daylight savings.
pain in the butt. And Germany was the first country to implement daylight saving time in 1916 as a way to conserve energy, which is the most popular reasoning that I have heard for daylight saving time.
Yeah, I
But
always
it,
heard it was like farmers, you know.
you know, it wasn't, yeah, and it was first, the United States first adopted it in 1918,
Hmm.
but it wasn't widely accepted until 1966 when the Uniform Time Act was passed. Yeah, it's not observed worldwide. About 70 countries use it.
Hmm.
So here's an interesting process. You like this one. Okay. When you pass away, you could choose to have your body buried or
Hmm.
cremated. You know
Hmm.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
But soon there could be another option,
Yep.
composting.
Yes.
And yeah, in April, was it April 2019, and the state of Washington passed a bill called the Natural Organic Reduction. It's a
Hmm.
legal option. So,
Yeah, they were working on it in a lot of Western states like California, Oregon, to allow certain pieces of land to be used for that, so people can do that.
yeah, so you could plant you could use the compost to plant a tree.
Yep. Yep.
So you contributing to the environment. Okay.
Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that liquid cremation one?
No, no, it didn't. Yeah,
It's a chemical process instead of using fire,
yeah.
but it's not a toxic chemical process. So it uses, I forget what the liquid is, but it basically dissolves you, and you are put directly down the drain afterwards. Just
Huh.
down the drain. You're fine because you're safe for the water supplies. After this process, I don't remember what the process involves, but I read up on it once, and it takes a super long amount of time, but then when it's done, it is environmentally safe, and you just go down the drain.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's supposedly more sustainable for the future because, like, you know, people aren't going to stop dying, and they're also not going to stop being born. So, like, where are you going to put everybody?
In the if you were a kid of the 60s,
Hmm.
yeah, which you weren't,
No, 70s for me.
you might have been given a slumber party Barbie as a kid, as a
Mm,
gift. But hopefully you're interested more in the doll itself than the accessories. Along with the Barbie doll, you got a scale that showed an unwavering weight of 110 pounds.
nice.
But there was also a diet book that was included.
Yeah,
It was called How to Lose Weight. And it had one piece of guidance: don't eat.
yeah, nice.
Nice.
That's a good thing to teach our girls.
Yeah.
Also, math is hard. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
Barbie, oh, poor Barbie. I mean, that poor lady who created Barbie dolls, because, like, she did not intend to ruin so many girls' images of themselves. She just wanted a fashion doll.
Yeah.
that was not just paper dolls, you know?
Uh-huh.
Uh, poor lady. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, Barbie dolls. And I'm like so on the fence about Barbie dolls because they, it's a terrible image for girls, but also it's such an iconic thing and an iconic toy. So it's just like you don't want to like keep them from having it, but you want to. I think ideally would be to get your kid a Barbie doll and have a lot of conversations with that kid. Don't just leave them alone with their toy, you know?
I think that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
It has been so divisive at times, the Barbie doll thing,
Yeah.
for a lot of different reasons. And to me, sometimes you're right, there should be a conversation. However, it just, on the other side of that coin, a toy is a toy,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and when you make it something more than a toy, then it's not a toy anymore.
Well, that's true. Well,
Yeah.
something like a Barbie doll, because she was a fashion doll and
Mhm.
because she
Yep.
was basically a stand-in for models,
Yep.
that automatically becomes something that a little girl would aspire to.
Hmm.
So that's where the danger lies in that specific toy. I mean, the same
Right.
thing's not going to happen with Legos, you know.
Right. No, it's not. Yeah.
So it's not a problem with things like that. But when you make a toy that's aspirational
Hmm.
and the ideal of what somebody should look like, you do have to be careful to make sure that you have a conversation with your kids about that. And that's why they have so many different kind of Barbies nowadays. It's really nice. They have like Barbies with vitiligo and things like that now, so that there
Yep.
could be inclusivity, which is very nice. I like that.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So in 1922,
Mhm.
the Danish physicist Niels Bohr, he
Yeah.
won the Nobel Prize.
Hmm.
And the Carlsberg Brewery in Copenhagen, Denmark, decided to give him a house. But it wasn't just any house. It was located right next to the brewery, and it had a pipe that brought the beer directly into his residence.
That's a nice gift if you like that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah. So, yeah, because, I think, it seems strange what a scientist would beer, but Carlsberg had this passion for science. And
Hmm.
as part of the company culture, they were just like a lot of beers, which I think that in maybe not to this level, they they're always developing their beers or improving their beers or whatever they're doing with their beers. So
Right.
they have chemists available,
Hmm.
and that they had the laboratory, and that was used to isolate a type of yeast used to brew pale lagers. You
Hmm.
know, so and they also developed a protein chemistry that's end up using in applications elsewhere. So it wasn't just beer, but anyway, I thought at your first glance you say, why would you offer that, to a physicist? But you can see where it might make some sense.
He
So
probably helped them with a lot of their research.
yeah, there's most of us interpret the word unfriend as a verb, meaning to indicate that you sever an internet relationship.
Right.
The word was first used in the 1200s to describe someone who was no longer a friend. In
An
the
unfriend.
17th, yeah, in the 17th century, unfriend had become a verb that meant essentially the same thing as it does today, minus the internet. In 1659, Thomas Fuller wrote, "I hope, sir, that we are not mutually unfriended by this difference which hath happened betwixt us
Yeah.
and between us." Okay. Anyway.
And then Noah Webster had to get so snippy about the word belittle
Yeah.
and call that childish.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is it. You get that sort of funny, when you think about how we think it was a modern terminology, but it
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Oh, that's
Uh,
really interesting. Well,
yeah,
and I still maintain that Noah Webster was just mad that he didn't think of belittle first. I think he was just jealous.
probably. So we like stuff about Ben Franklin, and
Yes.
you probably heard this. He wrote an essay in 1781 called "Fart Proudly."
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
have heard of that. Yeah.
right. He says, it's known that, humans, have a great quantity of wind. Uh, but his essay urged the Royal Academy of Brussels to try to discover something not wholesome, that's wholesome enough, or that to be mixed with our common food or sauces, that should render the natural discharges from our body of wind not so inoffensive but agreeable as perfume. So that was the essence of what his essay was all about.
Did you know that they have since discovered compounds like that?
That
Yeah, there are pills you can take that will change the smell of certain things to things like chocolate,
hmm,
roses, ginger, or violets.
huh.
You take
It,
a pill, and then when you fart, it smells like chocolate.
oh, that's a good one. That would trigger something. So that's all along the lines of the commercials that we see nowadays, where they get this thing that you spray anywhere to take care of all your offensive odors.
Yep, yep. And
Yep,
the poopery that you could put in the water, actually. Yep.
yep.
It's good
So
stuff.
I've got one consideration.
Okay.
Actually, it's consider this. It's not what you sell; it's what's behind it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Starbucks is a bank?
Yeah.
Yep. Apple is a luxury brand.
Okay.
Google is an ad agency.
Well, that's for sure true.
Yeah, yeah. And Amazon's a data company.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Red Bull is a media company.
Yep, that's correct.
McDonald's is a real estate company.
Yes, that is true. Yes, they're
Yeah,
always trying to acquire more real estate.
yeah, yeah. And this really makes a heck of a lot of sense. Facebook is a surveillance company.
Yes, it is. And
Yeah,
so is Google Chrome, by the way.
yeah,
It is. It is.
yeah,
And it's data mining is what it is too.
yep. Hmm.
Yeah. People do need to think of things that way.
No,
Uh by the
it-
way, did you ever see that movie that Michael Keaton was in about Ray Kroc about McDonald's? It was called
no,
like The Founder.
hmm, no, I didn't know. Yeah, I know
Um
Greg Kroc. I've heard. I just haven't. Yeah.
well, yeah, he was the one who quote unquote founded McDonald's. But I don't know if you know much about the origin story of
Hmm.
McDonald's. It was a small business owned by two brothers, the McDonald brothers, and they originally had a barbecue place, and then it evolved into different kinds of foods, became like a hot dog place, and then eventually they decided that if they just made like two or three things, like burgers, fries, shakes, they could develop this really efficient system to make the food fast and to be able to sell it, like to sell a lot of it and to be able to be, super
Hmm.
efficient about it. And they worked really
Right.
hard on the system to develop that. And Ray Kroc was like visiting different places. He was trying to sell shake machines at the time.
Yeah. Hmm.
And in the movie, The Founder, I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but in the movie, The Founder, they get this call that this customer wants six shake machines.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's like, well, that's got to be wrong. Nobody ever buys more than one. And then he calls them and they're like, yeah, you're right. That's wrong. Better make it 12 or whatever. And so he's like, I need to find out what's going on with this company. And then he goes and it's this place. He's like super fast, super efficient. He orders his food and then they give him his food. He's like, what's this? He's like,
Hmm.
that's your food. He's like, what? And then he eats it and it's good and all this stuff. Well, Ray Kroc actually he thought, he had a gold mine there and
Right.
he basically bought the company from the McDonald brothers, ended up with a controlling stake in the business and franchised it and kind of like edged the McDonald brothers out of
Out of
business.
business. Yes, I
Yeah,
remember that
and he
story.
took
Yeah.
it. And then
Mhm.
he's known forever as the founder of McDonald's and
McDonald's. Right.
they put his name and his face on the little plate outside the building and stuff.
Hmm.
And watching the movie, you really hate Michael Keaton's character because he was kind of a son of a bitch. But it's very well done. It's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend you watch it. It's on all the streaming stuff. We watch it on
Hmm.
Tubi every once in a while. Michael Keaton was fantastic in it, but it is just It's heartbreaking what happens to the McDonald brothers because they really had a really cool thing going and they just wanted to keep it small. And they were like, what do you mean franchise? You know?
Yeah, and that's so often that happens where
Yeah.
you have someone who is enterprising and takes a business which has a good model and expands upon it where they have the resources to expand upon it rather than involving the original idea man. It's kind of like what you hear time every once in a while how particularly you hear about more in the music industry where a young aspiring singer sells their catalog
Yep.
for virtually pennies on a dollar or even less than that if there is a less than that and it ends up making the company millions
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
and then later on in life if they're lucky enough to get super successful then they buy it back, which always seems like a very unfair thing to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
it is what happens in businesses, and we see it more in more prevalent, I guess, in the music industry. But it can certainly easily be applied to business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
L. Frank Baum, the writer of The Wizard of Oz,
Hmm.
he predicted the smartphone.
Hmm.
He actually predicted quite a few things. In some of his Wizard of Oz books, he talks about some weird, like magical, quote unquote, magical stuff that was actually futuristic. Like one of the characters, his name was TikTok, and he was a robot,
Hmm.
which was like it was like one of the first. He wasn't called a robot, but he was like the first robot. He was like a
Yeah.
sort of a clockwork man.
Mm.
But in his novel, The Master Key, there's a lot of technologies in it that predict a lot of our technologies today, including smartphones. He mentioned in the book also a pretty accurate description of augmented reality, which is like if you've ever heard of Pokemon Go, that's augmented reality. So basically, the protagonist was given a pair of glasses that would reveal a person's character by projecting a letter on them. So anytime he looked at someone, it would say whether they were a good person or a bad person,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
using like technology. And he also in TikTok of Oz, which was one of the sequels to The Wizard of Oz, he predicted video calling.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah. So, and this was, well, when did he write those books? Was it like the teens or the 20s or something
Yeah,
like that?
something
It was
like
like a
that. Yeah.
long time ago. Yeah. So that was Wizard of Oz predictions of the future. And my last one, it it was going to turn into a big list of things, but it ended up being a short list because I ran out of energy. But cotton candy was invented by a dentist.
Yes, I heard that one before, yeah.
Yep. William Morrison and his confectioner friend John C. Wharton invented it in 1897. It was originally called fairy floss.
Hmm.
But here's the funny thing, too, and I think I had heard that fact before. It was then reintroduced again in the 1920s by another dentist. So
It's
William
generating
Morrison, yeah,
business. Yeah.
exactly. So William Morrison introduced it at the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis. But then in the 20s, this other dentist, Joseph Lescaut, made his own machine and sold it in his dental office under the name Cotton Candy. So he's the one
Uh,
who named it Cotton Candy.
Cotton candy. Okay.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And then so I got just a couple, two or three ironic inventions, right?
Mhm.
So the plastic bag was originally intended to save trees by being a reusable product. But it didn't work because they soon became something people threw away. They weren't supposed to be thrown away. They were supposed to be used over and over again. But they
Yeah, and
were,
that's why they stay in the
yes,
yes.
and that
Yeah.
it became a much bigger environmental problem. And then
Right.
post-it notes, which you may have heard,
Yep.
were
Yes.
originally invented by someone who was trying to develop a strong adhesive.
Yep.
And his shitty adhesive that wouldn't stick and you kept like picking it up and putting it down became post-it notes. So
Right. Yeah.
he
And
accidentally
and
created
when
the
they
weakest
yeah,
adhesive ever.
I think when he was selling it, they it became the businesses he was selling with. It said, hey, they gave out samples.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's how it sort of took hold. That
Right.
somebody would go into an office and say, "What is that?
And use the
Where did you
sample
get
as
that?"
something to
Yeah,
write on. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And also, the last one that was kind of an ironic invention, dynamite, was intended to be developed to make nitroglycerin safer for mining because it was, notoriously hard to transport nitroglycerin without it blowing up. So they invented
Right.
dynamite to make it safer.
Safer. It's right.
Safe dynamite. It's
Safe
like
dynamite. That's
that's
what
like
you
clean
need.
coal. Yeah.
Yeah. An oxymoron. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's all I had
Okay.
today. So, folks, if you enjoyed this, send us an email, mochiverse@gmail.com. That's MOCCIAVERSE@gmail.com. Come and visit us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. Subscribe to us on whatever platform you like. We're on all of them. And tell a lot of people to listen to our show so that people can listen to our show because we want people to listen.
That's the idea of doing it, I guess.
That's the
So,
idea. Well, it's one of the
yeah.
ideas anyway. And with that, there's nothing else much to do but to groan a bit from some dad
Mhm.
jokes.
Listen, how do you stay warm in any room?
Oh,
Just huddle in the corner where it's always 90 degrees.
always 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Yes,
Parallel lines have so much in common. Too bad they never meet.
they never meet. Yep.
Yep. So what if I don't believe in, I don't know what the apocalypse means. It's not like it's the end of the world.
That's good.
Yeah. I was originally going to have a brain transplant, but then I changed my mind.
Ah,
What do you call a snobbish criminal going down the stairs?
what?
A condescending con descending.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I like
Yeah. How come wrong numbers are never busy?
it.
And does killing time damage eternity?
Oh.
Yeah. Why is the third hand on a watch called the second hand?
That's true. Why?
Yeah. And listen, how can be these how can there be self-help groups?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And why is it that day breaks but night falls?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Did you ever did twins ever realize that one of them is unplanned? Why is it called lipstick if you can still move your lips?
That's right.
Yeah. What do you call a gaming console that was invented by accident?
What?
An Nintendo.
A Nintendo.
Yeah. What do you call a cult that's hard to get into?
What?
A difficult.
Difficult.
Right. Who could shave 30 times a day and still have a beard? A
Oh.
barber.
Ah.
Yeah. Why should you never eat a clock?
Why?
It's too time consuming.
Too time consuming.
What's the only place where it's totally acceptable to pick your nose?
Where?
A plastic surgeon's office.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are good.
Okay.
Those weren't too terrible. They were actually very funny.
Yeah.
Guys, come on now.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
God.
did you hear this couple was having this massive argument? The woman was really upset. She said call her husband a crossdresser.
Huh.
He got so pissed off, he gathered all her clothes and left.
My God.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, that's all we have for you folks this week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Daddy wasn't finding a powwow. Daddy wasn't finding a powwow. I've got a little cat. I'm very fond of that. I'd rather have a big powwow.
What are you are you chasing? Freya, leave it alone. Sorry.